Hello and welcome to our final listener interview in the 30 Days of Spectre on this, the 29th day of Spectre, the penultimate entry in what has been the greatest month of all time, apart from October, obviously, when Spectre came out. My name's Tom Sears and I'm joined by my good buddy Chris Wright. Say hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Absolutely good stuff. So we've got Mr. Jack Lugo on the show in today's second parter of the 30 Days of Spectre. Now, Jack Lugo, obviously, he's been a long time listener, right back from there at the start. I think he said he joined us on episode 3 or 4, I believe it was. Jack is currently the sort of the JBR kind of blog manager, if you will. So he does lots of posting over on the website with some interesting stuff. And obviously, if anybody wants to write for the JBR website, it's got some ideas for things they want to write about Bondian, he's the man to go to, and he'll sort you out, basically. So big thanks to Jack for that.
Cheers, Jack.
Absolutely. So yeah, should we, without any further ado, should we just jump straight in?
I think so. I'm just a bit sad it's the last one, isn't it? I guess, well,
what can you do? It's good.
Everything has to end.
Everything comes to an end. It's like the end of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I believe the last episode of that was called All Good Things. And it was like, do you know what? We've been making this show for 7 years or whatever it was, and it's got to come to an end eventually.
But there is one thing that stands against that phrase.
Go on, what is that then?
Bond. James Bond.
That's true. He's never going to come to an
never
end.
Die.
No, that's true. Yeah,
he's never going to come to an end.
That's true. So bollocks then. Bollocks to the rest of it. It didn't mean anything. Yeah, totally. All right, cool. So without any further ado then, let's jump straight in and talk to Mr. Jack Lugo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of 30 Days of Spectre, James Bond Radio. And with us today is one of the JBR listeners with the very best James Bond name that we've heard, Mr. Jack Lugo. Welcome, Jack. How you doing?
Okay. Actually, a lot of people have told me that my name is a good one for a Bond villain.
It is great.
Out there.
And with us is also, obviously, our co-host, Mr. Tom Sears. How are you doing, buddy? You all right?
Hello, fella. I'm absolutely good. I'm feeling good about this. And what I've always said it, I feel like the name Jack Lugo sounds like something that would have come from Fleming's pen. He sounds like he'd be maybe a hoodlum in Diamonds Are Forever, or one of,
Largo's right-hand man.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so you've got a cool name, dude.
Yeah. And we have to mention as well, Jack's also been like a big contributor to the JBR blog post as well. So super thanks for that, Jack. Great effort.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoy. I enjoy writing. I do some writing on my own, and it's writing about something that I love. So just to get myself out there and for people to read it and to get feedback is a great opportunity for me. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, no worries. No, we really appreciate it. But Jack, for those who don't know, Jack's been sort of the sort of blog manager at jamesbondradio.com. So anybody who's been writing posts, Jack's the man that's sort of been organising that and writing a whole lot of posts himself as well. So good on you, Jack. We really appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're going to kick off then with our quick fire round. And so with the first question, Mr. Jack Lugo, what is your favourite James Bond film?
It's been from Russia with Love for a while, so that's my favorite film. The train sequence, and also, I mean, it's sort of I just love what they did with that film with the intrigue from Spectre and Tatiana and Rosa Klebb and Red Grant, just great villains, and it's just a great setup and great Cold War story.
Absolutely. That is, I think, I remember Norman Wanstall saying that ages ago when we interviewed him. He was like, From Russia with Love is the one truly grounded story that could have truly happened, that it doesn't get fantastical and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a proper Cold War thriller, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's been one of my favourites for a long time as well. It's just got so many good elements, hasn't it, from Russia?
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many others that come close, like on Majesty's obviously comes very close to that. But I would have to say that that's the one that I kind of return to, more often than not.
Good stuff. Cool. So I know you're a big reader, Jack. I've seen your reviews of like the young Bond books and all that kind of business. So question 2 is, what is your favourite Bond book?
For the Flemings, I would have to say also From Russia with Love. It was just a bold move for him to kind of have like more, almost half the book without Bond. You basically get the villain's perspective for like half the book, and you don't get to Bond until like way into the story, and the plot is already underway. It's very interesting how he pulled that off. I think he took. I don't think I don't know if he would have taken that kind of chance if he was writing them today, or if someone else was writing them. So that's the one that I enjoy mostly from, as for the Flemings. And then I guess for the non-Flemings, I would have to say by Royal Command, Charlie Hickson.
Very nice.
Cracking.
Cool. That's a cracker. And a great title for a book as well, man. That could be a film, couldn't it? We've often said that.
By Royal Command. That would be an amazing film title.
Yeah.
That was a massive. That reminded me, just there's a lot of like foreshadowing for Majesties in that story. Just a lot of elements of it just reminded me of Fleming's Majesties novel.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one interesting thing about From Russia with Love, like you said, it's it was a risk for him to not have Bond for so long in the story, and as well you had that ending as well. For anybody that hasn't read it, spoiler alert, but obviously there's the part with Rosa Klebb, and she actually does, instead of Bond avoiding her, she does get him at the end, and he crashes to the carpet, and he's at the end of the book he's unconscious, and you think he's dead. So it's like a double.
I mean, that was the next novel that he, obviously, and I think he received a lot of letters, complaining, just I guess like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he received a lot of letters when he supposedly killed off Sherlock in one of his stories. So it's just an intriguing book, and I wish he had done more from like the villain's perspective, like more from Smersh's perspective or from Spectre's perspective in the other novels. But I think obviously I think he was writing in the later period more with in mind that these were to be filmed. So obviously he was trying to make the novels later on more, I guess, photogenic, more easily to adapt, easier to adapt.
Yeah, right. So question 3 then, Jack. This is sometimes a bit of a tricky one for some people. Who is your favourite James Bond girl?
Oh, that is a hard one.
You can have 2 if you want, because we have the 2 categories, don't we? Strength of character and hold on a minute. Are you wearing a JBR t-shirt, Jack Lugo?
I actually am. Yeah, you can't.
Oh, look at that! Yeah. Good on you, man.
Yeah, I wore my t-shirt for the interview.
Good stuff. The 2 categories: the strength of character versus the one who's just bloody gorgeous.
Okay, strength of character. I think Vesper Lynd. I think no one can really top her.
Nice.
I mean, I think she's, obviously maybe other than Tracy, I think the only Bond girl that really, challenged him on a, kind of every level, not just being physically attractive, but also, just being bright and, not just bright, but, being able to engage him on more than just, the surface level. And I think Tatiana would have to be the other.
Very nice.
Do you like the old neck choker, Jack?
Yeah. that does get to me every time I see it.
Very nice, cool stuff. So next question is, Mr. Jack Lugo, what is your who is your favourite Bond villain?
Oh geez, that's another hard one. I mean, there's a lot. It's kind of hard to just pick one. But if I had to, I mean, I think I might have done this. Actually, I think I might have actually completed the quickfire questions online. Yeah. And I actually don't remember what I wrote for this answer, but it would have to be probably either Goldfinger or possibly Lashif. I mean, I would have to say, I mean, there are different reasons, but yeah, I have to say it's probably one of those 2.
Interesting. 2 good choices for sure. I remember when we did the villains episodes and we did a vote on the Facebook page, and Goldfinger came first, didn't he, by quite a long way. My natural instinct would have been to have said, Donald's Blofeld would be the Bond villain, but it was Goldfinger was a clear winner there. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something about the Blofelds that I think they're all great. They all have their natural abilities, but I think there's something to be said when you have, I guess, a different villain who's kind of either the buffer between Bond and like there's, I guess there's there's one thing about having a nemesis, and then there's another, that returns, and then like a single villain that Bond has to face for that particular entry. So I think. As far as, I mean, like a nemesis kind of villain, obviously Blofeld's the ultimate, but I think they're definitely strong villains that are just kind of like one-off villains.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So who would you think would be your who rather is your favourite actor to have portrayed the man himself, James Bond?
I'd have to probably go with Connery, although I think Daniel Craig is a very close second. I think both of them kind of capture, the spirit of Fleming in a way that I think the others do as the others do quite a good job too. But I think those two actors sort of capture the essence of the character from the books.
Very nice. Absolutely cool stuff. Now, if you can possibly narrow it down, what would you say is your favourite scene from the whole series of Bond movies?
Wow. It's tough when you actually have to answer these in person. Because it's easy to kind of like sit and like reflect and kind of write something down. And then,
this is definitive. The answer you give us now is going to stand with you for the rest of your life. So just to let you know that.
Yeah, that's, like if I kind of get absent-minded and I'll say something stupid like the Jaguar chase and Die Another Day, then that will define me for the rest of
we would end the call immediately, Jack, if that was the answer, that's for sure.
I'd have to say probably the gambling scenes in Casino Royale. I mean, it's not just one. There are a few of them, but I think, especially when it comes back and that last hand nearly killed me. I think that's a favorite of mine.
Yeah, Do you know what? I feel like those scenes really capture the feel of what's in the book. The very first line of any Bond book or of Casino Royale, but of the whole Bond story is describing what a casino is like at in the middle of the night kind of thing. I think it's 3:00 in the morning. He says, isn't it? And those scenes for me just perfectly capture that feeling on those in that film. It's a good one for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's undeniable. Yeah. And
the fact that actual poker scene went on for what? It was a good half hour or something, wasn't it? And you just don't get bored. They've grabbed you the whole way through it. I think is fantastic for sure.
It did. I mean, I don't think there's any other card scene in any other film, even outside of Bond, that kind of matches that.
No, definitely not. Okay, so next question then, Jack. What is your earliest memory of James Bond?
Well, my earliest memory is I remember, when we used to have VHS video stores, I remember my dad was looking. I don't think he ever. They might not have had it, but I think he was looking for a copy of License to Kill, and I guess the video store didn't have it, and I don't think I ever got to watch it back then. But my earliest memory of actually watching a Bond film would have to be my dad taking me to see GoldenEye, because I was back when I was a kid. My parents were divorced, so I got to see my dad like sometimes on the weekends, or he'd pick me up after school and we'd go to the movies. So that was our big thing. That was our time together. So I remember GoldenEye. I guess I was either 14 or 15 when that came out. So I was older, obviously, than I was back when License to Kill. That was kind of my earliest memory. I remember he was excited because Pierce Brosnan was Bond, and he knew the whole story about Pierce Brosnan was supposed to be Bond, back for Living Daylights. And
nice.
So, that would have to be my earliest memory.
Sure. It's funny, isn't it, how many people's earliest memory are generally with their dad or their family. It tends to be the dad, doesn't it? You sort of see your Bond with your dad, and that's kind of like the earliest introduction. It was the same for me. It's the same for quite a few of our listeners, but it's quite good. And so when you saw GoldenEye that time, was that the time that it pulled you into Bond? Is that what made you a Bond fan, or did you see it and you think, oh, this isn't bad, and watch one or two more? and then became a Bond fan.
Yeah, I think I thought this wasn't bad. I watched, obviously I watched. We went made a point of seeing all the Bond films that came after with Pierce, and so we saw all of those together. I guess I became an intense Bond fan more after Casino Royale, like, in terms of like I went and read the books and, learned more about the history and, went back and watched all the original, the Connerys. I mean, I probably saw them all as well, most of them after GoldenEye too, because my dad had like the VHS, cassettes of the earlier movies. But I guess I probably became more of like an obsessive fan probably after Casino.
Very nice. Cool stuff. So if you've managed to visit any, let us know what is your favourite Bond location that you've managed to visit, and what is the sort of number one dream location you would love to get to at some point.
I haven't visited any Bond locations, although I know you went. I'm here in New York, and I know you went to the Voodoo
the Voodoo shop. Yeah.
Shop, yeah. And I've never been there. Actually, I have to try to find that. My wife and I actually have a bucket list, and on that bucket list is GoldenEye. It's crazy expensive, and all you have to say that would be like actually right now today is our 7th year anniversary, so
congratulations.
Thank you. We're going to celebrate more later, GoldenEye would probably have to be like maybe like a 20th or 30th year anniversary. We'll have to save up for that, but it would be great.
Yeah, well, with the amount it costs to stay there, it will probably need a good 20 to 30 years to save up for just one night, eh?
Just one night. That would be a thing. I mean, unless I guess because it's a whole big resort and it's not just the Fleming house, unless you stay in one of the other parts of the resort that isn't the Fleming, then it might be a little cheaper, but not by much.
Well, that's very kind of your wife to, let us have a bit of your time on your 007th anniversary. So pass on our thanks.
Yeah, I told her, she's excited about it. I mean, she loves Bond as well, so she totally gets my, my devotion and my obsession to.
So she likes the Mets. So she likes the Mets like you, and she likes Bond like you as well. It's like a perfect match, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we actually, enjoy a lot of, we have a lot in common that we enjoy together and stuff. And I actually, like she's interested in me and kind of the stuff that she's into. Like she's a lot into Disney and stuff, and I've gotten into that. And we went to Disney World for our honeymoon, and and we've been there a couple of times since, and we took our son there as well. So nice. It's kind of like give and take. You kind of have to enjoy the other person's interest and sort of, find genuine things to enjoy.
See, I'm more of the school of thought of where I just impose Bond on my lady, and I don't. There's none of the give and take. It's just all just watch this film. That's my technique. But it sounds like you got yourself a good woman there. But so another question, I suppose, before we crack on and talk about Spectre, we talked about just now about how for most people it's usually the dad that passes on the Bond. So we know you've got yourself a little boy there, little Tommy. Are you continuing that tradition? Are you getting him into the world of Bond at this point or not? Are you waiting for a little while?
Slowly but surely. I think he's not quite old enough. He's like 6.5. So he's seen. I actually have a big. You can't really see it. I have like a poster of Bond and by my computer. I'm actually using my wife's tablet right now because I don't have a webcam by my computer.
Right, nice.
And like sometimes when I get MI6 magazine and stuff, he'll see, oh wow, that's Bond. And I've actually gone through with him and shown him, because I have that big Taschen Bond book, and I was looking at it one day, and he saw that I was what I was doing, so he went and asked me about all the pictures and stuff. And actually, a funny story is when Spectre came out, there were all these tie-in promo things that the books and stuff, and I actually saw that there was a sticker book, and I went and I ordered it from the UK site because I don't think it's on sale through the US Amazon, and actually I have it with me here. It's this big. Nice. It's actually thicker than most books, and I am gonna give it to my son, but I'm kind of keeping it now because it's huge. I thought it was going to be like this flimsy thing, and there are tons of things. Like there are tons. It comes with like 1,000 stickers.
Wow!
And like the DB5 and the different cars and the gadgets and stuff. And I know he'll love it, and I will give it to him. But right now, I'm kind of like. Because if you compare it, actually, I thought it was going to be more like this. This is like a Star Wars one, and it's like a few pages and a few stickers, and it actually was this big, thick thing and the stickers are actually pretty high quality, and
nice.
So it was a lot more surprising. Yeah, I'm like, should I give this to him or not? But I will. I promise.
Good man.
In time. Yeah.
But between you and us, Jack, if you don't, it's all right. We understand.
So, Jack, you obviously you're in a really important position of power, like in terms of you will decide what is the first Bond film that your son gets to see. Now, have you thought about that? And are there any sort of Bonds that you're thinking of? Which one do you think will be the best for him to see first?
Probably Goldfinger. I think that's kind of like the standard one. I mean, I don't. I mean, he's seen pictures of. I think he understands the concept that they're different actors who've played Bond, and so I mean that might for a little kid that's like they just see the most characters as one actor. So I've kind of explained that to him. So I think that Goldfinger would be a good point to start. I would love to show him the more recent ones, but they're obviously the violence and stuff. It's kind of hard until they're a bit older. I would say probably by 12 or 13 he could probably handle some of the more recent films with Daniel. But I think Goldfinger would be a good it's kind of light and I mean it's more fantastical, so I think it's definitely a good place to start.
I would say when people have asked me that before with showing Bond to their kids, I usually either recommend something like Goldfinger or You Only Live Twice or Spy Love Me, one of those three, because they're lighter films. There's I think they're good entry points for kids for sure.
Definitely.
I agree.
Cool stuff. So, Mr. Lugo, it is time to talk Spectre. Are you ready?
I think so.
Good stuff. So, before we even ask the first question, actually, how many times have you seen it at this point?
Only once, because it's hard to get it out to the movies, especially when you have a family and stuff, and it's expensive. I mean, I don't know what the theater prices are in the UK, but it's like it's a night at the movies or a day at the movies. It could be $50, $60.
Good God. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously you can go and not have concessions or anything like that, but then the movie's almost 3 hours, so you include the previews and all that stuff. So it's expensive. I mean, we my wife went on like kind of like a date night, well, it was actually during the day, but it was, so we've only seen it once, and then the following week we went to see the Peanuts movie because that came out the same week as Bond. So we went to see the Peanuts movie with our son. We had it for the time we went to see Spectre, obviously, because we're not one of those parents that takes their kids to violent.
Cool. So first question then, Jack, is are you a Spectre lover, a hater, or somewhere in the middle?
I definitely I think I'm kind of like in between, like lover and somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I don't get the hate for it. I kind of am more. I'm in more agreement with you guys. That I don't understand why. Especially like I can understand maybe casual fans who maybe aren't that passionate about Bond, who are just going to the theater just to just to see like an action movie. Maybe it's not what they wanted, but I'm not sure why some of the intense hatred where it's coming from like the Bond fans. Especially here in the United States. So that kind of took me for a loop. Even despite the bad, some of the bad reviews, there's been some positive reviews here too. But I think most of the reviews that we hear that get the most attention are the negative ones. Unfortunately, the negative comments get more attention.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm more in between. Like, I think it's the kind of film where I think if you sit and dissect every scene and you're there to kind of nitpick, then of course you're going to see things that that you don't like. But if you just go with the intent of just having a good time and not really, not really there analyzing it as you're watching it, it's good fun. I mean, it's a solid film. It's entertaining. There are some things that I think once you sit and look at it that maybe I would change that I'm not particularly sure about, but it's definitely I enjoy it. I think I could see myself rewatching it and finding new things to appreciate about it.
Absolutely.
I think this film has quite a lot to offer in terms of multiple viewings and spotting little things here and there each time you see it. So what was obviously when you watched it, what was the atmosphere like? Was there a buzz about the cinema? Was it a crowded cinema? What was your feeling sort of leading up to it and everything like that?
It was sold out. I mean, the theater that we went to see it in was recently. Maybe a couple of years back, they renovated it so it's the big chairs with the cup holders and the lazy boy seats and stuff. So it's not. So to say it was sold out maybe doesn't have the same meaning as like a standard theater. The seats are normal size and it's not as big. But it was definitely sold out. Every seat was taken, and everyone, was, I was there. We were there that weekend, and I think multiple showings were sold out. So we actually bought our tickets like a few days in advance. If we had waited to that day, we probably wouldn't have been able to see it.
Nice, cool stuff. So then let's talk about kind of individual parts of the film then. So what would you say is your favourite part of the film, or if there's more than one favourite part, let us know. So what did you really like about the film first of all?
Definitely the pre-title sequence. I think it's one of the best in the series. That entire tracking shot, incredible. I mean, even though as we pointed out, there is a little bit of trickery. It's not just one take like Birdman kind of thing, but it's definitely very impressive, and I think they really established the right tone. I love watching him, across the rooftops, where he's, and he has his gun. He has the swagger there. It's definitely that's definitely I think the best part of the film. In terms of like setting the tone. And then I love the Spectre meeting. I think that was very creepy, and the Rome chase after, leading into right after the Spectre meeting. I think the Rome chase was incredible to watch. I think and the Austria stuff with Mr. White was also great. There's a lot, and the train fight. There's a lot to really soak in. I mean, I'm dying to watch it again, although I'll probably have to wait till it comes out on Blu-ray video because it's like it costs a lot of money to go to the movies, and I don't know if my wife will get angry with me myself because I actually we have like a point system like with the theater that we go to, so I actually do have a free movie ticket, but it's just one ticket, so I know if I went by
Yeah. So, maybe not on your anniversary either, just to be on the safe side.
Hang up you guys, I'll head off to the movies and my wife will be waiting, and it's also anniversary, so it's not the best idea.
No. So you mentioned a little bit earlier then, Jack, there were one or two things that perhaps you weren't quite sure about or that you might change. Now, tell us a bit about that. What sort of things were you do you think could have been done a little bit different?
Well, I think with Spectre, the scope of Spectre as an organization, I think probably needed to be fleshed out a little more. Like I think Quantum did a good job of like alluding to this organization that had so much more thing. That it wasn't just Dominic Green. It was there was this whole big organization behind what he was doing. I think they could have maybe fleshed that out a little bit more. I know there is talk in the Spectre meeting of the multiple things they have going on. So I think that I would have liked to have seen more of like what is the organization really doing. We know Blofelds kind of like the head of it, but we know that there are other people too who have their own agendas. Obviously, otherwise they why would they be helping? Why would they be a part of it? So I think that could have been fleshed out a little bit more. And also also I think the Demby plot, although I love Andrew Scott, I think he gave a great performance, and so I wouldn't have changed that so much, but I would have sort of focused more on what the purpose of the building going online was for, because I think obviously Spectre already has the ability to spy on anyone, to hack into anywhere already, and Silva was able to do that too in Skyfall. So I think what they needed to do was to sort of maybe kind of stress what the organization would achieve if the plot had been carried out. I think it was obviously influenced by the Snowden stuff that's going on with the NSA spying and stuff that's going here in the United States, and you guys in the UK have like the Snoopers Charter stuff that's going on. So it is definitely very relevant, and I think if they could explore it to a degree that kind of could resonate to the real world, I think they could have maybe added. Maybe not, I'm not saying they have to go into a whole political thing about it, but or elaborated on it a whole lot. But I think they could have maybe just had one or two, occasions where they kind of really drove home what the ramifications of this building going online was about. And I think what it was about ultimately was legitimizing Spectre, like kind of like have, like in the mafia movies where the mafia boss wants to go legitimate, like in The Godfather, there's this whole thing where they want to be recognized not just because they're powerful criminal underworld. They want the kind of validation of being a legitimate power. So I think they could have maybe focused a little bit on that, but I think what they did was fine, because obviously it is a Bond movie. They're not going to go into a political tangent, and that's not what I would have wanted either. But a little bit more of like the ramifications of being of what they were doing.
That's a good point. Very good point.
And then also, I think the personal connection between Bond and Blofeld, I kind of warmed up to it a little bit, since seeing it. But I think I think there was enough there that that they could have explored without going into the whole we were foster brothers kind of thing. But again, when I say that, it sounds like I'm putting the movie down, which I'm not. I think it's, I enjoyed it, and these are things that I'm kind of like when I watch it, and I definitely plan to watch it again. When I watch it again, I'm not going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, this is bad." I'm not going to, I'm not going to be the kind of person that is going to just watch the movie again to criticize it.
I think that's definitely a rabbit hole you can lead yourself down, where you just end up like hating everything and just, you know what I mean, and just spoiling the whole experience by just sort of focusing on that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, that sort of brotherly connection history thing, to be honest, looking at it, I could take it or leave it, to be honest with you. I don't think it particularly adds much to the story. Like you said, there's enough there because it's Blofeld, and that as they've linked in the previous films, that he's been there all along pulling the strings. There's enough there to make you hate him as a villain. You know what I mean? I don't think he really needed it. So, but at the same time, it's certainly not something that makes me like, I don't dislike it either. I can totally take it or leave that angle for sure.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I could take it or leave it, and when I watch it again, I probably will just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
There's definitely enough there already. I'm in total agreement.
Yeah, totally. So, how do you think Spectre compares to Skyfall then? Do you think it's a step up, a step down, or just along that same path?
I know that's I think that's the what everyone tends to do is to compare it to the last one, because obviously that's what happens. But I think it's kind of like apples and oranges. It's a different kind of movie. So I think there are things that Skyfall did better in terms of the issues that I had with the villain, because I think with Skyfall you don't really you don't really question the motive. They don't go deep into the motive of Silva. You know why he's doing what he's doing, and he's after him for revenge. But you also know there's a bigger plot that there's a whole cyber terrorism angle to it too. So I think maybe the characterization of the villain is done a little better, despite the plot holes. Because I know we've pointed out some of the plot holes in Skyfall, which is definitely a valid point to make as well. But I think Spectre gets kind of like the tone, and also like kind of it was refreshing to see Daniel sort of be Bond without having like this emotional kind of journey to have to go through the film. I know some people might think of that as a weakness, especially if they're into the Daniel era, but I think it was kind of refreshing to see him just have the confidence and the swagger from beginning to end, and not have this kind of like the tortured past kind of haunting me vibe. So absolutely. That I definitely enjoyed about Spectre, and I hope they kind of continue that and not go back to having him be more brooding, because I think that worked for the films that they did it in, but it's time to kind of move past that.
Absolutely.
Let's lighten it up a bit for a film or two, get the humour back, and I think the way that they've done it tonally with Spectre, if the next one is like that, then great, that's going to be brilliant. So how? Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah, I agree. The next one should be more tonally like Spectre.
So how, if possible, how would Spectre sit within your ranking of the Daniel films?
I think definitely. I think I agree with Tom that it's Casino is definitely first. I would have to say it would have to be between Skyfall and Spectre for second place. It depends on the mood. If I'm more in the mood for like kind of more kind of like just a straight up entertaining Bond film, not have to think that much, not have to have too much like melodrama, then Spectre would be second. If I'm more kind of looking for something deeper and like a heavier kind of story, heavier plot, then Skyfall would come second. But it just depends on the mood. Like any given day, I think those two would switch.
That's good.
Very nice, cool stuff. So then, when you compare it to the whole series of all the Bond films, where would you say it sits? Would you say it's a top 5, a top 10, somewhere in the middle, or down the bottom?
I think it would be maybe top 10. I don't think it would, because I mean top 5 is a tough thing. There's so much. So to say that it wouldn't be top 5 isn't necessarily to insult it. I think it would probably be around the top 10.
Very nice.
That seems to be sorry.
Yeah, it's exactly what you were about to say. That seems to be the general consensus with most of the people we've spoken to, that it's somewhere in the top 10. But top 5 would be a tough nut to crack, wouldn't it? When you look back at the history of the films, for sure.
Yeah, there's, I mean, Casino, obviously for me, from Russia, and On Her Majesty's. I mean, and then there's, it would be kind of hard. Yeah, it would be kind of hard to crack that.
Definitely. So here's pretty much the big question then, Jack. Bond 25. Okay, it could be 2 years away, it could be 3 years away. What would you like to see happen, and what do you think we're going to get?
I have a few theories. I didn't listen to the last couple of podcasts because I've been busy over the weekend doing stuff for my family.
What? You haven't listened to them already, Jack? That's it.
Chris gets offended.
I didn't get to today, so I think they can easily do. They can easily make it into like what Diamond should have been if they decide to go into that direction. Like if let's say Blofeld escapes and Madeline. I think we might have lost Tom. Let's say Blofeld escapes and Madeline gets. Then you have a setup where you have Bond out for revenge. I think that could be. I could definitely see that happening.
Is that what you'd like to see happen?
Actually, I part of me wants to see that happen. The other part of me might be tempted to sort of prefer kind of like an independent kind of story where maybe we see Blofeld escape at the end of Bond 25 and then that lead into Bond 25th, because Bond 26, because I think the whole thread of Blofeld works better when there's a buffer in between, when there's like a henchman or someone just below him, kind of like calling the
Number
shots.
two or something like that.
Yeah, like a number two. Like I would like to see Bond 25 actually do like Bond versus whoever the number two is, and whoever takes over from Blofeld, because Spectre's not going away even if Blofeld's in prison or whatever. So I would like to see maybe a film where Bond just has to go after this other guy, and maybe Blofeld escapes at the end, and and that's a whole setup for a whole confrontation for Bond 26. That having been said, I would love to see them do You Only Live Twice, like from Fleming, and have Bond and Samurai Sword go, fight and Blofeld, from the You Only Live Twice book. I would love to see that. And I think there's a way to pull it off, because I know obviously Christoph Waltz and Daniel Craig fighting isn't necessarily going to be an even match, but what if Bond gets poisoned just before this Samurai Sword fight? Like kind of like in Hamlet, where he gets wounded and it's like a poison that's going through his system, and then at that with that kind of disadvantage, Christoph goes after Daniel Craig with the Samurai Sword. That would be great to see.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's definite room for. I think everybody's assuming that Blofeld has to escape at the beginning of the next film, but I think it will be really interesting to have Blofeld in prison for the whole thing, still pulling the puppet strings from behind bars. And like you say, there's, the equivalent of a Dr. No or somebody who's the latest sort of man in charge while Blofeld's in prison, and then Bond's up against him. Blofeld escapes at the end, and then finally we have the showdown in 26, which is true to the Fleming You Only Live Twice. I would love to see that, man. That would be good.
That's what I'm actually hoping for, although I don't know if that's the direction they'll go in, but yeah, I would love to see that.
Absolutely. So were you one of the people that read any of the spoiler scripts or anything like that before you saw the film, or not?
No, I stayed away from that stuff. I know, the Sony hack was a big story when that happened, but I kind of stayed away. I mean, obviously they had the whole Idris Elba kind of controversy that sprung from that, but I didn't read any of the scripts, and I still haven't read any of the scripts, so I'm actually interested to hear, because I think you guys are doing an episode on the script, the earlier scripts from the Sony hack. So I'm very interested to hear what the initial plans were.
Absolutely cool stuff. So you, as I said at the beginning, you have your own little blog site. You're helping out the James Bond Radio site as well. So give yourself a little plug. Do a bit of self promo, because you do your own a bit of creative writing, don't you? At the same time. Yeah,
I enjoy writing. I've been writing for a long time. Just sort of like fiction stories, and I also do the writing for James Bond. My James Bond kind of related writing. So I do kind of fiction and nonfiction. I have my site. I guess if you Google noir fiction and James Bond, my site should come up. It's like J. Lugo. The name is a little convoluted. It's like J. Lugo's noir fiction, and James Bond musings. So if you put noir fiction and James Bond musings into like a Google search, it'll show up.
Good stuff. Absolutely. We'll put a link in on the website as well below this episode, so everybody can find it as well. Thanks, so there you go. And again, just wanted to say thanks for all your help with the website and all that kind of stuff, Jack. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. I love, it's something that I enjoy doing, and I would probably want to do anyway. So it's always great to write about things that you love. So
good, man. And a big kudos for flying the JBR flag with that T-shirt. I hope you wear it around New York every day of the week.
I wear it to work.
Nice. Good stuff, Jack. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on board today.
Yeah, it's great talking to you guys too. I've been listening to you guys since one of the earlier, like episode 4. So it's wow. Great to actually interact with you guys.
An old school listener, I like it. Good stuff. All right then, Jack. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, buddy. We'll talk again soon, no doubt.
All right, take care, guys.
Cool. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Jack. Bye.
Bye.
So there we are, Mr. Lugo bringing it New York style.
Absolutely.
So what do you think then?
Very nice. Absolutely. Good to finally talk to Jack. It's funny, isn't it, for us on the social medias and all that kind of stuff, we see all these names floating around, and especially Jack, he's been kind of getting involved and commenting for a long time now. And you feel like you know them even though you've never actually spoken to them. Do you know what I mean? All these names, I recognise that name, and it's Jack's been one of those for a long time now, so it's been good to actually finally have a good old chin wag with Mr. Lugo.
And also, like, doing it over Skype is nice because you see the photos, but it's and obviously over the phone is fine if you can't. But it's nice to get the visuals going as well, I think.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah. And he was rocking a pretty rad t-shirt as well, wasn't he? But also we must say thank you to Mrs. Lugo because as he mentioned, it was their 7th wedding anniversary. We actually recorded this one last Sunday. It was their 7th wedding anniversary at the time, and he was allowed some time to talk Bond. So that's very nice of her. So Mrs. Lugo, we thank and salute you for that.
Definitely. It's a 007th anniversary, so what else?
Yeah, absolutely. It's appropriate.
And I loved as well, he was saying about obviously his son Tommy. He's not quite old enough yet for the Bonds, but he will be soon. Obviously, we're talking about potentials like Goldfinger or Spy or maybe You Only Live Twice. They're the sort of good ones to get them into it, aren't they? And but I love the fact he got the sticker book as well. And it's like, I'm going to just hang on to it for a little while. I might put the stickers in for Tommy and then I'll give it to him or something like that. I
love that, and I think that's probably why I should probably never have children in my life, because I will without doubt be more of a child than they are when it comes to Bond. So I totally get that. But I like what he's done there. He's slowly but surely just introducing Bond stuff in there to pique the interest. So when the time comes and he is old enough to sit down and watch a film, it's going to be in there and ready. He'll have the sticker book. He was talking about the Taschen book, wasn't he? And showing him all that kind of stuff. And, this is James Bond and look at these pictures and stuff. So he's doing it the right way. He's doing it slowly but surely, because you do run the risk of overcooking it and then hating Bond because it's what Dad loves. Do you know what I mean? And that's not cool because Dad loves it. You do run that risk. So I think what he's doing is he's playing it just right and just teasing it in there just a little bit and laying that proper solid foundation. So good on you, Jack, man. We salute you.
And it's an interesting call, isn't it? That whole first film, you've got to choose carefully. I mean, like you said, imagine if you chose one and they're like, I don't like that. It's a bit of a science, I think, behind it, isn't there, between what you have to do. I mean, your gut instinct goes for something that's one of the lighter-hearted ones, a bit out there, iconic if you can, at least memorable scenes, memorable characters. That's kind of like the ones we mentioned, I think. But have you ever sat with a James Bond virgin? And while they've watched their first Bond film, you must have.
I must have done at some stage. Nobody springs to mind. I remember trying to get my cousin Sam into it once when we were kids, and he did flirt with it for a while, and it came to they'd sort of come to visit and stay with us for like a long weekend every year and stuff, and we'd often watch a Bond film then. But it never really blossomed as a passion. Do you know what I mean? It was just something he liked to watch. But there we go. Do you think maybe there's some value in Jack going straight for License to Kill with little Tommy?
I think what he should do is go straight for License to Kill. He should make it a dark room because there's no light. He should lock Tommy in the room, and basically and just get him Franz Sanchez's face up close, sit him right in front of the TV, and see what happens.
There we go. Absolutely. There's our recommendation, Jack. But obviously probably don't do that because that's going to terrify the poor kid. But absolutely. But you know what? I would love to know what my first Bond film was. It would be intriguing to know if somebody could say, do you know what? I remember when you watched your first Bond film and it was. I would love to know what that was, because that's the start of everything.
I'm pretty sure mine was Thunderball. That's the one I've got the biggest sort of memory and perhaps affection with as early as I can remember. But I'll ask my dad. We used to watch him all the time. But I'll ask him and just see if he remembers. I might introduce Chris to Bond. It was almost like I came, popped out of my mum and there was Bond on the screen. So I can't quite remember anything.
That brings up such a crazy visual. I like it. Well, I'm not sure if I do actually. But there we go.
You like it? Oh my God.
All right then. Right. So, you got something to say?
No, I was just going to say it'd be cool, I think, next time either of us are with someone who's going to watch Bond for the first time, it would be cool to just get a bit of feedback on that, see what we think and why we chose. Because, choosing a Bond for a young kid who's watching Bond for the first time might be completely different to choosing it for your girlfriend or your fiance or whatever. Or well, if she's your fiance, she would definitely have watched it by then. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Choosing it for a lady friend or perhaps even a mate if you're going to sit down and watch one. So it's an interesting.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that about rounds up the listener interview section of the 30 Days of Spectre. Here we are on day 29. We've got one episode left, which is day 30, obviously, the 30 Days of Spectre. And like we said before, it's going to be the listener takeover episode that's chocked full of all the 90-second reviews of Spectre. So we will be back tomorrow with that. I think I'm intrigued to sit there and listen to all those messages. I know you are as well. Hopefully we get a good cross-section of opinions, good, bad, and somewhere in the middle, and all that kind of stuff. So this is the first time we've really sort of done this kind of thing. So I'm intrigued to see how it kind of plays out. But it's going to be good to let the listeners take over for a change, and they can tell us what they think rather than them listen to us talk about what we think.
Are you going to be putting your feet up while
I think so. It's getting cold lately, so I've got stuck into lighting the fire every night at the moment.
Nice.
So that's probably what I'm going to do. If I smoked a pipe, I would have my pipe and slippers. I would light the fire and I would sit down and listen to it. So yeah, I'm intrigued.
Are you going to have a wee brandy or a little dram of whiskey?
Maybe I will. Maybe I will, Chris. Yeah, maybe absolutely. And I will swill it around like that and feel like a gentleman for a change. But there we go. So until tomorrow then, for the final episode of the 30 Days of Spectre, I've been Tom Sears.
And I have been Chris Wright.
And we'll see you in the morning for the last time of the 30 Days of Spectre. So we'll see you then. Goodbye.
I can't believe it. One more day. But there we go. See you tomorrow, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.